Hello everyone, Kristina here. Welcome to another live stream here on my YouTube channel. Welcome to everyone over there in the chat. It's so nice to see you here. Well, today is the 9th of the month, which means we had a new release this morning over at Concord and 9th. So some of you probably saw my release video. I'm going to quickly show you the products and then we're going to get into, I'm going to be using 2 of the products tonight to create a card. So we'll just start off with this one. This is One Word Greetings. Super fun die set. Little itty bitty words, right? This is such a fun little die set. I was thinking I wanted something that was small enough that kept the price down, that would be a really good gift. So if you wanted to buy someone a gift, maybe someone who's new to crafting, this would be a good one. Don't you think? All right. I'm going to go through this really quickly because maybe some of you have already watched my walkthrough. All right. This is the die set that we're going to be using tonight. This is the Love Hugs Hello dies. And I'll show you the back here. That's what they look like. The Love You, Hugs, and Hello Friend. And the thing that's interesting about these dies is you'll notice that on the shadow that there are some score lines. So that's going to help us when we adhere the individual letters to the shadow layer. And you'll see that tonight when I make the card. Okay, so that was the Love Hugs Hello dies. Next we have Lucky Numbers and Lucky Numbers dies. So this is an accompaniment to the Lucky Alpha stamp set that came out a few months ago. So these are the Lucky Alpha, and then this is the Lucky Numbers. So there's actually the numbers and the dice, and there's dice for both. So there we go. I did a piece of mail art with the numbers, so that was a lot of fun. Make sure you watch my walkthrough video for that. This is really fun, and I really want to make something with you guys with this die set, so maybe I'll have to do that next week or something. But this is Daphne's Flowers, named after my cute little kitty from a couple years ago. This is Daphne's Flowers inlay dies, and you might notice this is a little bit interesting. Well, first of all, let's look at what it looks like when it's all put together. When it's all put together, it looks like that. Ta-da! And then I really thought this through when I was designing this product because I love the look of these inlay dies, but I hate having to cut the outline die over and over and over again to get the different colors of cardstock for all the different elements. So you'd have to cut out the different colors of flowers and also the centers of the flowers and all the leaves. So since I had like some real estate when it comes to the footprint of this die set, I decided to fill in some gaps with individual leaves and flowers so that you can just cut out the colors you want. So I've labeled them on the packaging. So this flower right here is labeled 1, and this is 1 over here. So if you want to pick out a color of cardstock for that flower, that's all you have to cut. And then the same over here. So this flower 4 is this one right here 4. So it's really easy just to reference the packaging when you're working with the dies, when you're building up this inlay die. So that's Daphne's Flowers inlay dies. And then just got a couple more. This is a stencil pack that we're going to be using tonight. I love this stencil pack. This is layered lattice. You'll see more of it when we get into the card design, but there's 3 different lattice patterns that you can create with these stencils. And then the last is a bundle of stamps, stencils, and dies. This is the Just Talking bundle. So there's a 6x8 stamp set. There's a stencil set in here. Hold on, let me show you. This is the look you can get with the stencils, all those talk bubbles. And then you have the dies that cut the talk bubbles and also the outer shadow layer. So if you wanted to layer the talk bubbles, you absolutely could. So I'll have to make a card with that some other time as well. All right, let's get into the actual card making. I have everything that I just showed you listed down below if you want to check those out at the C9 shop. All right. So like I said, we're going to use the layered lattice stencil pack tonight, as well as the Love Hugs Hello dies. And I will grab a couple other items from my stash, specifically a circle die and a heart die. But other than that, we're mostly going to be using these. So let's start with the stenciling. Using my Altenew grip mat. And I'll just put that right there. Okay, so this stencil pack, like I mentioned, it has 3 different designs in it. So I've got them paired up. So there's this one. You can kind of see how that can pair it up to create a nice pattern. There is this one right here. How pretty would it be to have a lattice fence like this? Love it so much. And then there's this one right here. And this is the one we're going to be using tonight. Okay, I'm going to set aside the other 2 stencils. I recommend with these stencils that you do a light color and a dark color. So we're going to start with the lightest color, and the stencil you want to use for that is the one that's more open. So it's going to be this one right here. You're going to use a lighter color with this stencil. All right. Helps if you put something in the corner up here so you can mark where the stencil is. I'm like, I know I have my Altenew corners here somewhere. I'm just going to put this one corner up there. That'll be enough to line it up later. The 2 colors I'm going to be using today are Powder and Harbor. So since I'm starting with the lightest shade, I'm starting with Powder. And I'll just do that right there. Now, my blue blending brush is really dark and saturated, so I'm actually going to, no, it's not that bad. There's not that much blue on it. That's okay. I was thinking I might have to clean off the brush a little bit, but all right. So I'm just going to start ink blending and just putting this on here. Now, this is powder, but I do have quite a bit of blue ink on this blending brush. So I think it's actually a custom color. You know, like it's not exactly just powder because it's picking up the blue ink that was already on the brush. Make sure I've got all that. Okay. Before I remove the stencil, I'm just going to wipe it down a little bit with a microfiber cloth. That just helps me clean off any really large amounts of ink that are on the stencil. Oh, that's so pretty. All right, I'm going to grab my, this is just a spray bottle with rubbing alcohol in it, just isopropyl alcohol. And I'm spraying my stencil, and I'll use that same microfiber cloth just to wipe it down. And you want to flip your stencil over and get the back as well. So now I'm switching to Harbor. I'm really tempted to switch to Blueberry, but I don't think I will. We'll stick with Harbor. And I'm going to use the same blending brush. That's probably how this blending brush got so dark to begin with. And I'm going to start to bring in some Harbor. And I like that with the combination of the Concord and Ninth inks and these really large fluffy brushes from Pinkfresh, you can really build up the color. I also, like, you guys have seen this in lives before, sometimes with the Concord and Ninth stencils or my stencils, you know, because Concord and Ninth manufactures them for me, sometimes I can get some bleeding or pooling in the corners on the stencil. And I find that that doesn't happen as much when I use a big fluffy brush. And I think it's because it's distributing the ink really evenly and it's not concentrating any really juicy ink in one area. It also helps that these 2 ink pads in particular aren't super juicy tonight. I haven't re-inked them in quite some time, so they are behaving themselves. Put it that way. Okay, now I've done with this stenciling, so I'm going to wipe it with my microfiber cloth again. Or not again, this one hasn't been wiped yet. Then I can lift this up. Ooh, yes. It definitely does not look like Powder and Harbor. It looks darker and more intense. I'm not mad at it. I'm really not mad at it. So this is some powder cardstock. And now I'm going to be using Harbor and Blueberry. So I'm going to start with Harbor. And basically I want it to stay powder up here, and then it's going to get darker and darker as it comes to this corner over here. So I'm going to start the ink blend. In fact, Harbor might be too light. No, it's okay. Really, I want it to be blending up like across the top here. If I blend from this bottom corner, it's going to take forever to get all the way up there. All right, I need to get this intensifying faster than that. So I'm going to go to the Blueberry. And this should definitely get it going, because Blueberry is quite a bit darker. You know, that nice and soft up to that top corner. I want to intensify this even more, so you know what? I'm going to add some Midnight. All right, I don't know how. My Midnight ink pad is either constantly super juicy or super dry. It's like never in between. Do you guys have that problem with some colors? All right, I'm still going. I'm getting this intensity. And I'm just letting it kind of fade off to this top corner. It's bottom right now, but it will be at the top of the finished card. Okay. Oh, I love that. And then look, that's the original color. I think I want it as a cutout. Okay, I'm gonna grab my circle thin frames. And I want one that's, maybe like this size. Is that about right? Yeah, that's about right. Okay, so I'm going to cut a circle out of this pattern, and I'm also going to cut the thin frame out of gold. And I do happen to know that when I'm going to be doing my grading, I'm going to be cutting it out of gold as well. So I'm just going to have it be cut out of the center of the circle while I cut the gold. The gold is going to be the shadow, actually. So I can just cut that right there. I'll run this through my die cutting machine. It looks like it's going to be just fine. All right, now let's hope that it actually cut. Oh, beautiful. You can see how, ooh, that would be really pretty by itself, just with it indented like that. That'd be really pretty. But we're actually going to cut out the letters out of white, and we're going to stack everything on top. All right. So I use the same die so that I can have the gold frame just right on the outside edge of that. Hello, Editing Kristina here. Just to make this quick and easy, I cut out the greeting itself, all the letters, 3 times with some Altenew adhesive on the back of the white cardstock. So each one of these letters basically became a sticker. And so I stacked them up so there were 3 layers of white letters. There we go. I really press that down. The Altenew adhesive sheets, they aren't like super permanent unless you add pressure. So I'm just adding a lot of pressure to this. And then I can just have my card ready to go. I'm going to use some tape runner adhesive just to adhere this to the front of the card. Okay. I'm adhering from the fold. Okay. And then I'm going to be putting this directly down onto the front. I was thinking maybe I'd have it popped up, but I'm thinking maybe I'll leave it the way it is. Isn't it interesting how I used powder and Harbor, but they almost match where I did Blueberry? Isn't that crazy? All right. So I want this design like straight up and down, but right in the center. And I'm just going to run a line right along the outer edge of my circle. Okay. I find it so much easier to put the glue on the card itself versus on the frame. And then I can come in here and we'll just puzzle piece that in right on top. So now we have that thin frame. I'm almost ready to adhere this. I'm going to put it up on some foam, but I do want to cut a little heart. So I'm going to my Kristina's Essentials dies, and I think I want that heart right there. All right, perfect. All right, let's put a little foam on the heart. I'm going to have these just like sitting there so I can get placement right. Actually, I want this down even more, about like that. And I'm going to move the heart, maybe. Yeah, about like that. Okay. Okay, the cats are running around. Now we're bringing the cat antics. All right, so I'm just going to add, let's see, how far away from the edge do I want? I think I want it about right there. I'm using a Jelly Roll pen. It is the number 10. I do not recommend the number 5 or number 8. You want the bold, you want the 10 so that it actually has good flow coming out of the pen. So here is the finished card for tonight. I think stacking those cut letters was worth it. Look how cool that looks. Just looks really, really pretty. I think everything turned out really nice. So just a reminder that everything I've used for this card is listed down below. And I will see you all next Monday for another live stream. We're going to play with more of my February 2026 release. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.